Afternoon, everyone. My name is Omar Ayash. I'm the president and CEO of the World Trade Center here in Kentucky. I'd like to welcome you to the Global Executive Forum. We're very excited to be here again at Gatton. It seems like this is something that we enjoy to do. I've heard over and over today as some of the guests were coming in what a beautiful campus it is. And we appreciate the partnership that the World Trade Center Kentucky has forged with Gatton. So without further ado, let me turn it over to John Pelosa, who's my board member, but also at the Gatton College of Business.
Beautiful. Thank you. Welcome. Isn't it a beautiful day to be in Kentucky? Yeah. As a Canadian, I would like to welcome you to the Gatton College of Business and Economics. I'm the Associate Dean for Research, Graduate, and International Affairs, and this partnership is central to the good work we're doing around the world. Hopefully, we're going to support Kentucky business to an even greater degree as we graduate students with skills you look for as we have faculty research relationships. So please engage with us. There are a number of students who are here in the room as well. Please feel free to find them later and offer them employment. Thank you for coming.
How are you guys doing? Good?
Good.
Excellent. My name is Parasha Joshi. I'm currently the chairman of the World Trade Center of Kentucky. I have my own consulting company now. I used to be the vice president for Valvoline for a long time, running a supply chain international business. And then I started a startup company. I was the CEO of a startup company, a biofuels company that ended up selling, and I retired. And my wife realized that I was sitting at home too much. And so she said, you got to get back to work. So now I started doing consulting myself. And so that's what I'm doing now. And so it's great to see a lot of turnout, a lot of the college students. I heard a lot of CEOs here. I heard a lot of people that may need a job here, right?
Listen, ex-diplomat needs a job.
This event is for networking. So even after this event, please take the time to connect, exchange cards, talk. I know we didn't get a chance to do that beforehand, everybody, but please don't leave without actually meeting one or two or three new people that you haven't met before. That's what this event is for. And that's why when Sherry started it, that was it. And what Omar is doing now and we're continuing to do is what we want World Trade Center to do, and make sure we connect people and businesses, and often obviously give you guys opportunities to grow your own business as well. So welcome and thank you.
Yes, thank you. Welcome, everyone. This is really great. A big round of applause for everyone being here. Really appreciate it. I did see one person sneak in, so I'm going to have you introduce yourself, the organization that you're with, to the audience here.
Thanks, Omar. Nice to meet you all. It's Samuel Morales. I am Chief Growth Officer for Babwinco.
Wonderful. And a board member.
Board member, yes.
Exactly. All right. So, the order of business, just like Prasher said, we're all about networking. I want you to all network, but we're here to learn also. So we've got the program here. We've got a great panel. We'll be here to about 6 p.m., 6:10, and then we go upstairs to a nice reception where we can continue to network. There'll be some good drinks and some good food and what have you, but it's very important that you stay with us past that. So, without further ado, I'm going to get the program going. David, without further ado, thank you.
Especially today.
Well, this is exactly what I was talking about.
Going to one. I'm not sure if this works or if you hear me well or not, but if you don't, please raise your hand or get closer. Hello again. Bonjour à tous. My name is David. I'm the head representative, the Delegate General for Quebec in New York. Thank you, Omar, for hosting us. Thank you for staying instead of being in DC on this important day. Thank you to the World Trade Center Kentucky team. Thanks for having us. I didn't realize that so many students would be here, so this is great recruitment opportunities for us as well. So thanks for being here as well. I look forward to the panel. So I know we'll be together on the panel. I look forward to hearing from you guys as well. So thanks for joining. Now, where do we start? I mean, it's I've been saying all of our days on our missions here. Whenever we have important meetings or receptions like this, I like to turn my phone off because otherwise it just buzzes all the time with Canada-US relationship news. But when I return to my seat, it's usually on fire. The battery's dead. So this is a great opportunity to really exchange and have a chat with you. I'll kick off with some remarks, and I think we'll get to the panel right after. But to kickstart the conversation, I'd like to come back to a quote that you may or may not remember or recall at all from President John F. Kennedy in '61 in front of the Canadian Parliament in Ottawa. discussing and talking about the Canada-US relationship. And I think he described it well in a very synthetic manner. He said, and I quote, "Geography has made us neighbors. History has made us friends. Economics has made us partners. And necessity has made us allies. Those whom nature had so joined together, let no man put asunder. What unites us is far greater than what divides us, whereas the Commonwealth's motto goes, united we stand, divided we fall." And I think this cannot be truer today. I couldn't have said it better. A couple of words on our trade relationship between Canada and the US, and I'll come to Kentucky to Quebec. We trade annually over 1.3 trillion in goods and services. So this is obviously very significant. Canada is US largest export market, as some of you may know. And Canadian companies support 1 million jobs here in the US. And the export market towards Canada also support an extra 1 million jobs. It's very significant. Almost half of Canada's exports to the US are inputs for manufacturing in the US here, and most of which is already re-exported worldwide, including to us in Canada. And something that some of you may not know, which I learned in, of course, the last few months, let's put it this way, is that about 15% of our exports from Canada to the US are actually from American subsidiaries that have a presence in Canada, including a lot of companies from Kentucky. So our integration, as you all know, has allowed us to really build on each other's strength and boost our overall competitiveness. So if I talk about some national level, Quebec and Kentucky, our trade relationship is about $3 billion annually, and it's growing. We have ranked Canada's ranked third globally in the amount of FDI projects. Now here in Kentucky, with a significant amount from Quebec, some of whom we visited during our trip today. Our supply chains are obviously key to the American economy in IT, and automotive, and aerospace, and obviously in aluminum, something that we're very strong into, and other key sectors. Now, having said this, coming to Omar's remark about DC, I think the past few weeks and months have somewhat challenged his perspective on our relationship, at least on the trade side and the historical foundation that left Canada and Quebec so with a big question mark what the future holds for us. But we strongly believe, and I think the thing is shared a value with Canada and our consul generals across the country. And I know it is for those of whom I've worked with throughout the US. We remain allies, we remain partners, and most importantly, we remain friends. This is, as President Kennedy mentioned, part because we're neighbors. But having said this about the neighbors at the proximity in terms of geography, I know y'all had an important horse racing event, I think, recently in the region. And all kidding aside, I think it's a timely reminder that just like the winner of the Derby, Canada will continue to bet heavily on sovereignty. As I mentioned briefly on our trading relationship, our bilateral trade between Quebec and Kentucky is about $3 billion. The trade between our economies have actually grown quite significantly over the last 5 years, about 50%. And most of this was 5 years ago. About 70% was aluminum-based, primarily aluminum. But the 50% growth has actually been very diversified across it. Aerospace, other metal and minerals, IT, services. So I think it just shows not only the strength of our relationship, but really the strength of Kentucky. And its diversity in the market. In terms of other sectors, as I mentioned, aircraft parts, paper, wood products, lumber, all key to several industries here in the Commonwealth. And Kentucky's first export market, guest is also Canada. So this is a great relationship on both accounts. Now, on the aluminum front, I don't know if some of you know, but Kentucky's imports of primary aluminum are mostly from Canada, 90% of this. And in Canada, 9 of the 10 smelters are all located in Quebec. So it's a very, very significant import for us. Compared to the rest of the U.S., proportion is about 50% of the imports. So one company is surprised solely that when the administration in D.C. decided to announce that aluminum exports from Canada would be tariffed to an additional 25% charge, came a bit of a shock for the industry and for our economy and for our government. Now, just to give you a sense, again, of perspective, to replace, only in that sector, to replace aluminum production that's imported from Canada, Quebec, here in the US, I'll give you some stats and just some images to give you a sense of scope. You need about $100 billion, probably around 10 years, more or less, in terms of permitting, grid building, and energy. You would, and I did the math again this morning, but it would require about 6 months of full energy supply of Kentucky's and 4 more Hoover dams to power just a few more smelters here in the US. So that gives you a sense of how this is feasible or not, how just, Quebec's contribution to the industry here is significant. Now, tariffs, the topic du jour, as we may say in French. For some folks, this is a best word in the dictionary. We're not a fan, I have to say. These measures are already impacting our economies. As you all know, that Omar referred to our prime ministers in the BBC now talking about this very important issue. But I think a couple of things to remember. First, our trade balance is imbalance in our favor for now, but this is mostly due to crude oil import from Canada to the US, which we sell at a very heavily discounted rate. If we take out energy, crude oil out of the equation, the balance is actually positive for the US side. And we actually re-import some of the crude oil that they transport here in the US and Canada. So that's a very, very significant part of that. Another energy aspect that some of you may have heard of is that from Quebec, we sell hydroelectricity to the West, to New England. And from May 2026, of next year, we'll have a new power line from Quebec all the way to New York to Queens, which will provide from May of next year roughly about 20% of New York City's electricity, and all produced by hydroelectricity in Quebec. So obviously, this is a great gain economically for us, but this is also strengthening the grid on the Northeast. We'll be able to buy electricity like we've done this year from New York in our peak, really chilly, unpleasant February nights in Quebec. We can then import energy from the US. Now, on the aluminum side, just a couple more words on this. We produce about 3 million tons a year, which gives Quebec the advantage of being the fourth-ish largest producer in the world. As I mentioned, all of the smelters but one are Quebec. In Canada, it's about 40,000 jobs for Quebecers. And of the $8 billion worth of aluminum exported in 23, so 2 years ago, 90% was straight here to the US, which is a good chunk, as I mentioned, to Kentucky. Now, I think our job in all of this, even with the challenges ahead, is really to ensure that, as my team and I have done throughout the last couple of days, and we'll do for the next few days, including in Frankfurt tomorrow with elected officials and secretary, is really to remind our communities that, we understand how much our supply chains are integrated, how much we have allies, the subnational level, state level, we're a province, you're a state, same thing. And we share so much in common and have done for the last decade. I think there are opportunities lying ahead. The president has been, very vocal about the desire to revitalize the U.S. economy. What help? We're there to help. The economy in the U.S. grows, our grows too. And we see many opportunities, and we've actually identified a few more over the last couple of days here. Just to build better supply chains, more resilient supply chains. Critical minerals is key for us. Aerospace, as I mentioned, as Omar reminded me of this morning, main exports from the state of Kentucky. Battery manufacturing is very, very central to our efforts and have been for the last 7 years. We built a whole strategy around bringing rocks, critical minerals in Quebec to the roads and battery components. We've had billions in FDI and one joint venture that's very, very central to your efforts in this sector as well. It's from Ford and SK Innovation. Surprisingly enough, our production, eventually a few years of anode and cathodes, will feed the factories here in the coming months. And this is an investment north of $1 billion in Quebec. So again, strong integration, strong approach. So in sum, I think we should really protect what we have right now, preserve it, grow it, do more business, seize opportunities. There's tons to be seized out there, even with the conversations that we have at the federal level. But this must be a shared vision. I know it's shared. We've talked about this morning. It's shared by our people, our our state, our governments, both at the subnational and the city level, and I believe strongly at the federal level. We'll have to see how conversations plays out today, and perhaps my speech is already, worth one, or right on spot, which I hope it will be. But on that front, and on Prime Minister Carney's visit to Washington, just a couple of words on Canadian politics, and I don't want to overstep. But as you all know, we had the election in Canada last week. The Liberal Party of Canada was re-elected for a fourth-term minority government. So later, Prime Minister Carney was elected. We had an election in Ontario, Labour province, to Quebec a few weeks ago. Doug Ford was re-elected with a majority, third consecutive term. But I think, as some of our ministers and our governors have said, these are the first steps into reopening USMCA, renegotiating some of the parts of the agreements, and really coming to common grounds together. One thing that has been in the news as well is our counter tariffs that Canada's either threatened to impose or in some jurisdictions have imposed already. They will affect obviously many key industries. One of them, fortunately, is bourbon from this very state. As some of you know, most Canadian provinces have actually taken bourbon and alcohol from the U.S. off the shelves of most of the provincial controlled liquor boards, including in Quebec. That's very unfortunate, as the governor of the Commonwealth mentioned. If there's one time where we would need a bit more bourbon, north and south of the border, it was definitely now. So I think this is obviously unfortunate, but in my mind, very temporary. We are strong believers, as I mentioned, that this long-standing relationship will prevail. We'll continue to work together. This is hurting for the moment. I think it's hurting a little more on our side, but we're starting to feel, the pressure in the U.S. as well. The comments that we hear on the ground also. And to give you another sense of our involvement in the U.S. for the last months, Quebec's presence on the ground here in the U.S. has grown quite drastically. To give you a sense of scope, the proud representative of Quebec based in New York, by far the best office worldwide that we have, the most competent team here that you've just met. But we'll increase our resources. We now have about 100 people in the U.S., 9 offices across the country, as part of a network of 35 offices in 20 different nations. We will continue. We won't close any offices anytime soon. We'll continue to have our missions here. Our Minister of Finance was in New York just last week, and his message is the same. We've been through more together. We've been through other challenges, and we'll continue to be on the ground here. So, in closing, once again, I think we're being tested, but we're friends and allies that will get through this. And I believe that we'll find opportunities for companies, for universities, for professors and academia to work together, for Chamber of Commerce's to build new bridges north and south of the border. And I'll close with a quote from President Reagan that was a few years after President Kennedy, who said, talking about the border of our country, that it's a meeting place rather than a dividing line. And I think that's a very, very key message that we carry as well. In the face of the challenges that we see together, I think our subnational relationship once again will prevail and will grow, all in the spirit of goodwill and friendship. And Omar, once again, thank you for having us on my team. It's a great thought.
Yeah, in order to keep the programs going, I'm gonna just thank David for this wonderful report. Really appreciate that. We appreciate the friendship that Kentucky has had with Quebec, with the U.S. Consul General of Detroit, Jeff. We really appreciate the relationship. Also, last week we had people in from Ottawa, so that's the kind of thing that's happening. That's the kind of conversation that's happening. But anyhow, I'm going to keep my remarks short. We really appreciate it. So let's move on to the panel now. Blanca, Mark, Teresa, Danette, please come out here.
I think that we are very excited to have you all here. Teresa, Mark, Danielle. And so Danette, manufacturing. Mark manufacturing, Teresa services. So I think that that's important for everybody to understand your answers and where you're coming from. So the first thing I would like to ask you, I mean, we are here to collaborate. When I started international trade, I realized that trade is what pushes policy. So before all of this, whatever this is, whatever this is, we had you export, you and import, both of you. I mean, all of you. I'm sorry. What were the issues that you would say? Okay, these are areas of opportunity in our relation with Canada. Not so much. I mean, okay, talk about documentation, certifications. How can we get together? We're going to get through this. So let's focus in the future. What are the things that you think that made your life difficult or made it easier in compared to other international partners?
Okay, awesome. Well, again, Good Maps, we provide indoor mapping, indoor positioning, and indoor wayfinding. And we actually launched out of a partnership with the American Printing House for the Blind, which is headquartered in Louisville, Kentucky. And so that is why our technology is incredibly inclusive and accessible from design at the very outset. So we are a software as a service. So we aren't subject to the tariffs or the customs duties or the taxes in the same way that maybe some of our manufacturing colleagues are. But the strength and also the weakness, I guess, that we were facing before all of this, and it's now becoming one of those silver linings, is that we've always had a really strong tie and partnership working with and through the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, or CNIB. And they have been a partner with us in working out and reaching different customers across Canada. And we have probably 10 to 15 discrete customers in Canada right now, where we provide our indoor digital services and wayfinding solution. And those customers have all come through that relationship with CNIB. But as you can imagine, with a resale or a partnership agreement, that communication, that workflow, that is always challenging. It's like a game of telephone in trying to have someone else tell and sell your business, especially in a technology field that is rapidly evolving and innovating. And so that was always a bit of, a blessing and a curse, if you will. In the current relationship environment, it's been more of a blessing because we have someone who is there, who is representing us, and who is continuing to be that relationship and that partner for us.
Yeah. So once again, Mark Kirchdorf for ISCO Industries. We're a manufacturer, but we're also a distributor, and we're in the rental and service business. So what we do, we sell to underground piping contractors. It's plastic pipe, high density polyethylene pipe. It's usually buried. And we don't make the pipe, we're a distributor, but we make a lot of things out of the pipe. So we're a value added distributor. And then it takes equipment to weld everything together. So we package all these goods together and sell them to an installer. The U.S.-Canadian border, we just have so much in common. We do business the same way. My company, we do business all over the world. About 10% of our products are international. And it's a lot more difficult as you go around the world compared to when you go to Canada. So we haven't had, to date, a lot of, it's been pretty easy to do business. Canada doesn't have a lot of the population, but they have a lot of resources and minerals. And we specialize in the really complex, value-added, high technology segments. So, having Canada right across the border and being able to trade products has worked really, really well. Of course, there's more barriers now. We have an entity in Canada, so we are an importer there. So that has us up all night wondering what qualifies and what doesn't. We have been fortunate so far that the majority of our products are not tariffed, but you never know each day as that goes on. But in general, I don't know that the currencies and just normal, issues you would face anywhere else or in Canada. But, today the environment's a little bit different.
Fantastic. Danette, what about you?
So, we work in the polymer field as well, but we work more in the area of like rubber and thermoplastics. We are a small but growing company, and 40% or more of our business is international. So we have more customers outside of the U.S. than we have internal or domestically. So for me, sourcing became my number one nightmare. And when, even before the tariffs, it was hard to interact with the different foreign suppliers. We had one issue where one of the foreign suppliers' facility burnt down, and we had a large amount of product with them that they this is for importing, but that burned down, which then we had to end up, pulling it up from the rear, bringing things internal, and then really basically bringing molding full life cycle into our facility instantaneously in order not to impact our customers. And for the customers we were exporting, the big issue of who's going to take responsibility and the bulk of the responsibility for when you're moving things out of the country, who's going to own it. It's a lot of regulations and compliance that were already tough. So now here's the tariffs. So now they're like, now we want to goog out more money to be able to export, and then, we have the nation saying, hey, do more export. So cost, as well as the regulations and stuff that are new regulations that are coming, what the FAR has changed. A lot of things have changed because we work with the defense. So all of this has added even more complexity to a process that was complex in itself.
Yeah, so the reason why I'm asking this is so that we can see that there's good and bad always. We will deal with the situation that we have. And this, in my mind, is temporary. One of the things I do want to point out is that, first of all, if for all the business owners here and future business owners or people that will be related to trade here, don't forget that you can call Omar or email him. You can, where's Mona? Mona, also with the Department of Commerce, Trade, Mary with State. There's people that you can talk to. Also, we have the District Export Council that there's a group of companies that we can put you there in front of the legislators. So that being said, what I should have started with this question. Do you guys know each other before you came here?
We did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, just in Louisville. What about you, Danette?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Mark and you are in similar industries.
Well,
Kind of.
it's in the polymer industry,
Yes.
but raw materials.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to say, okay, Louisville, there's connection with the industries, trying to make sure that, okay, did you guys know each other? So, okay, fantastic. Now, from, so Kentucky's exports last year, 20% of our exports went to Canada. How much, percentage-wise, do you do business with Canada?
Well, ours is small but growing. So probably about 5% of our revenue last year was through our Canadian customers and contracts. But we're hoping to continue to expand that as we move into more airports and more spaces across, as well as transit hubs. So we've currently got 2 stations in Ottawa, actually, with Via Rail, but they're servicing all of Canada. And so we are hopeful to continue to expand and to move past that as we continue to grow.
Yes, so our largest share would be in Canada. Probably 25% of our exports would be Canada. In my business, we do large projects. So if there's going to be a power plant built in South America, they might pull us in on that. So they could be large projects. It's not repeat business; they're projects. But in Canada, I have a daily business. I have repeat business, and so that Canada's the most consistent.
So the niche about our business is that we not only do we do manufacturing, but we also focus on ESG sustainability and digital innovation. So for what we do with Canada is more, we work with them and do exchange business in that digital area. And we probably do we've maybe about 5% of what our revenues are we spend with Canada.
Danette, let me just stay there so we can reverse again. You were technology, love it. What has been the most? We know that we have a lot of new technologies, but technology that you use and you know that is going to change your business or is changing your business right now. Which one would you think? Would you say that is?
I think the audience could answer that for all of us, and it's AI.
Yes.
It's AI. AI is so pivotal
Mm-hmm.
that we've literally taken all of our employees through training. It is an essential tool within the carpentry box of each one of my employees. AI is it down to the biggest thing when you're a small business. You have to do more with less. So quoting. And in our field, I don't know how challenging quoting can be for you, but it's challenging for me because each one of our customer has custom requirements. So AI is allowing us to create an environment where it's learning what our people do, and then saying, "Hey, look, you should charge this much," and it's helping us now turn maybe 3-day quotes into or weeks quotes into a matter of hours or minutes.
That's fantastic. Mark, what about you? What technology, if you agree, how are you going to use it or are using?
Yeah, I think every business. I can't think of a part of our business that we don't think about AI. Not that we're necessarily using it today and effective in getting all the right answers. I don't know if they're telling you all the right thing, but okay, yeah, we need help. Part of our challenge is AI is only as good as your data and how clean it is. And we've been a very fast growing business, and I think we're pretty good at meeting the customer's requirements and gathering and ramping up and being able to say yes to the next order, but we don't always follow that with building the infrastructure and getting all the data right. So we're doing a lot of that now, because if you don't have a stable platform of data to work from, it doesn't tell you the right things.
Well, our entire technology is based on AI and machine learning. We have a US patent actually for our indoor positioning. So the reason why GPS doesn't work well indoors is because it's hard to penetrate. And without GPS, most spaces are relying on either installing beacons and sensors or using Wi-Fi fingerprinting on your phone, which is very inaccurate. And if you're trying to take blind people to destinations indoors, you actually need to be really accurate. And so our patent is a visual positioning system to be able to infrastructure free identify where someone or something is in an indoor environment down to 25 centimeters of accuracy. And that is all through AI. But I would say in addition to AI, the advent of social media, whether you want to say TikTok or Facebook or YouTube or whatever it is, has completely upended the way that you market and message to users and potential customers. And for us, we are trying to change the paradigm of what people expect when they get to an indoor space that is complicated, right? We all use Google Maps or Waze, even in our hometown, to kind of gamify our path and make sure we get there as quickly as possible. And then we get to a space like a college campus, and we are left to our own devices and have to rely on analog signage that hopefully we can see without glasses, and we can find our way to our destination. And so we are really trying to make sure that people are aware of the fact that you can expect something different and that you can get augmented reality, enhanced turn by turn, hyper accurate indoor directions to the destinations. And so for us, leaning into social media is another thing that we are trying to do to say, how do we use our very limited to non-existent marketing dollars to go viral and make people aware of the fact that this is something that they should be asking for and that businesses should be investing in.
Amazing. Well, I definitely think that a lot of people need to talk to the net and how to use it for one of the things that I've seen for AI personally has been specifications. I mean, or documents. Actually, a very good friend, lawyer, and here in one of those big horse lawyers here in town, it was telling me, okay, we're using AI and it's saving us hours and hours. And of course, I didn't ask the question of like, are you billing the same amount of hours?
Yeah.
But the point is that there's also the concerns, right? There's HIPAA, the health, the privacy concerns. And he was raising those questions as of how we're going to handle that. But if we don't move, if we don't try, we'll never know how to handle it. So I'm very happy that you guys are using it, or at least open to do that. And that's very positive now. I don't think that we can use, and we shouldn't, use AI in politics. I am personally concerned about us throwing algorithms to social things. But talking about social things, what do you think with your representatives, since we are, we have Quebec here, we have, of course, the state of Kentucky. How do we bring down the game to not, and okay, there's a federal conversation. How do we keep it as a regional, those bridges that we have already? What are you guys doing with your cities, with the state? Are you guys doing something to bridge that gap or to help to say, hey, maybe not do this? So are you guys doing anything about that?
I would say, we're leaning into the relationships that we have. Again, we're very fortunate to have partners in Canada who are working with us and great customers. But I will say that I think those relationships and strengthening those at the local level, but also from, state to province are really important. We had a customer, and I will not reveal the name to preserve the innocent, who called us actually from Canada and said, we're excited about moving forward with you all, but can we put this contract through your UK office in the United Kingdom, in England, which we have a subsidiary there. I have 5 people there. And they were like, right now, with the way that the relationships are and the tensions, it would actually be easier and better for us if we could do that. And so we were like, yes, we can. They also asked if maybe for the time being, we could take Made in Kentucky off of the landing page of the website. So these are things that we know are playing out kind of in the zeitgeist between the two countries because there is heightened relationship. And there is, concerns about, what's happening at the federal level. And so I think for our standpoint and for mine in particular, it's, I'm proud to see our governor, continue to try to talk through like, how do we strengthen those relationships? How do we build on what we have? And I think they're putting pressure in other places as well. And I think that's really critical.
We've seen a lot of, one of the biggest challenges are just products on hold, or I'm sorry, projects on hold. And we see them in the US, but we definitely see them in Canada too. So there's less business there. There's federally things need to be done to, things were done to kind of create this and things need to be done to move this forward. I like what we're doing here tonight. I think celebrating wins, I think talking about things that are going well and can go well are things that we can do, but ultimately we need the federal system to start repairing what's been done, and so we can move forward.
So one of the things that we've been doing is sort of rather than looking at this as a problem or issue more of looking at it as a catalyst and sort of saying, how can we reinvent ourselves as a small woman-owned business to now take advantage of what's happening and get more opportunities. So we're reaching out to our foreign counterparts, and we're really focusing on the soft aspect of humanity, and sort of saying, trust, clarity, um, consistency, and really having these conversations, demonstrating it into the type of just trying very hard to make sure we keep our business with them and figuring out one-on-one how to work through this. Very similar to what you were saying, Teresa. That is working out well for us.
We're all humans and we're all in this together.
Yeah.
So I think that, Omar, how are you doing time-wise?
Well, let's see if the audience have some questions.
Yes, that was the next thing to do. So that being said, anybody has questions for our panelists? No curious people? There you go. Mona.
Okay. So thank you very much. Very insightful comments. Considering the complicated environment as in regards to trade, the side effect was the reduction in the value of the US dollar. Have you seen that impact your export sales or increased demand in your product because the US products is cheaper for international consumers?
I've not seen that.
You want to?
With the more projects on hold or whatever, it's probably harder to see that. But no, I haven't, and it's it hasn't been that long with all this going on. But I have not seen that yet.
Okay.
I think that's the more challenging piece. Is everyone is waiting to see what's going to happen, whether it's to their business or whether it's to trade policies. And so, where we were, I think, pre-election, and we thought was going to be different post-election and coming into the new year, we are still in that very uncertain time. And so whether it's here in the US or it's abroad in Canada or in other spaces, I see a lot of that same hesitancy to make a decision until the chips fall.
I agree. There is a lot of uncertainty. We have begun to encounter the issues from the tariff. And the go-to now is reclassifying products and things so that you try to find what can you reclassify this part for so you can get a cheaper tariff rate. So, I mean, I think I'm probably the smallest company up here. And when you're limited with people and resources, that's very straining. So we are seeing the tariff stuff. And another challenge is going back to our customers saying, hey, look, we got hit with this, and you need to absorb the cost, and or we need to split it. But definitely we're starting to see the impact.
Yeah. Like to draw who the company I represent, we are actually the same thing as Mark, the same comment. Those projects are not there. I mean, they're stagnant. So anybody else seeing that? Raise your hand. Was stagnant? Okay. So projects. Okay. So we all agree that, and what is behind that? The uncertainty, right? So I've already talked about the people that we have here we don't have our representatives here, but we have a lot of Kentucky companies and students. How do we communicate with our federal government?
Blanca, we had a comment over.
Oh, who's over here? Please.
Well, for the panelists, and you're absolutely right on projects being stalled. One of the challenges that we see in Canada is that governments, provincials, not yet federal, but provincial, are stepping in to invest. CapEx is stalled, no large investments, and that affects public budgets. And in turn, the dollars, and Quebec was actually downgraded by S&P a couple of weeks ago because the government decided to invest massively in public infrastructure in lieu of the private sector. So I think this is a trickle-down effect. My question for the panelists is, and Teresa, to your point, my worry, and I think that's a personal point of view, but I think it's shared by most people in government, is the change in personal behavior. Your point about having Made in Kentucky removed, to me, is what's, in the long term more worrying. We had a similar conversation with bourbon folks yesterday. Once you switch to Johnny Walker from the UK, why would you come back to bourbon if you're used to this after some time? That's consumer goods. But what do you see on the industrial level, manufacturing level, services level? Do you see the same worry from your customers in Canada and across the world?
I don't see it here in the U.S., but yes, I'm hearing that in Canada. I know the election was pretty contentious, the elbows up, and we just need less of that, right? I think, getting back to the last question of what can we do, I think there are a lot of things that go well, and there's a lot of potential, and we're all ready to move on and see what the new 2.0 is going to be. But we do see it. I don't have the concrete examples that Teresa has, but we are a Canadian entity. I mean, we are a Canadian business.
You're affected two ways.
Right. Yeah, both ways. And we, it's digging in. It's incredible how much that we go back and forth. We might have a lot of inventory in the U.S. that we used as a buffer to send to Canada. Well, now we can't do that. So one of the big losses is just all the noise in our business of evaluating what we do. And, customers don't pay us for this. This is just energy we have to spend that we can't, use it doing something of value. So hopefully, that uncertainty and all that accumulates into, I think, gridlock, and we're all looking forward to that moving on.
Yes. I think Omar wants me to bring it down to a conclusion, but
Omar's thirsty.
More light tone. Let me just ask you, to the three of you, if you could have one superpower to make your workday easier, what would it be? Go, Mark.
Let me go. One of the hardest things in our business, when I started, we were all in one facility, and now we're in 35. So I would, I don't know, was it Flash Gordon or somebody that can move at the speed of light? If I could do that and be in front of everybody, I think that would be the biggest thing that would help me.
Right now, everybody they don't trust one another. There's lack of consistency, clarity, communication. I think, I know I would want my superpower to be able to instantaneously be able to create a trusting, consistent, clear relationship with anyone that I bumped into or interacted with, so we could get down to business quick, clean and dirty, and make money.
Well, now I want my superpower to be that I get to have everybody else's superpower also. And but no, for me it was the ability to duplicate / multiply all of the best people on my team, myself included, because there's just not enough people to do the work, or not enough hours in the day. So that copy paste of me and my awesome rock stars would be amazing.
Well, we really thank you for being part of this panel. We thank our representatives here from Canada. I really appreciate everybody being here. And Omar, I'm giving you this back.
Thank you. Give them a big round of applause for this wonderful. There's so much that could be said about what is happening here tonight and this evening. But one of the things that a few days ago, Mark and I were talking, and you said something to me that I want to share with everyone. And that's, to me, it's the power of the group, the power of the network. You said, if my competition has to go through this, I'm ready to go through it too. I think I'm paraphrasing that. And I think that's the important part. And this is why getting together and networking and being in a forum like this is really our superpower. It's the idea that we're working together and we're learning from each other and we're understanding from each other. I want to thank you for visiting us. We really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful time while you're here in Kentucky. Do come back again, and appreciate everyone here. We'll be in the room upstairs, and there'll be some fun food and drinks and some more networking. So just either take the elevator one floor up or the stairs one floor up. Thank you.